relax and often fall asleep to. In that way, I think it is a very important and interesting subsection of YouTube, most commonly being intended solely for the mental health, well-being, and state of mind of the viewer. YouTube is a platform primarily designed for entertainment and information, but I think it's very interesting and exciting that there's an entire community dedicated to helping and easing the anxieties of those that watch. And in that regard, I am saddened that ASMR gets a bad rap generally when it comes to public opinion. A lot of people view it, understandably so, as being rooted in some sort of sexual connotations, and certainly those exist and have their place in their own right. But the vast majority of ASMR is well-intentioned, well-meaning, perfectly PG-13 stuff. So now that we have a general idea of what ASMR is, I wanted to just sort of talk in this video about what ASMR has meant for me, what it's been able to do for me, and more universally, how ASMR functions uniquely as an artistic form of expression. What ASMR is uniquely situated to be able to do, what ASMR excels at compared to other visual audio mediums, and why ASMR should be treated in some circumstances as a very legitimate means of telling a story or expressing some form of tone, mood, or message. This video is going to be rambly. I don't have a script because I thought it would better function within ASMR, and I'm also going to be delivering this video essay of sorts in this ASMR style, accompanied by various triggers throughout the episode. Yeah, sure, it's an episode now. Season 1, episode 1 of whatever this is. I'm doing that because I thought it would be fun for me primarily, but also for people who are already in the ASMR community or watch ASMR, so they can enjoy a video essay within the format that they are familiar with, and interesting for those who don't know what ASMR is, so that as I am talking about this, you are constantly receiving a very prominent example of what ASMR is and what I'm talking about is. So if this makes you uncomfortable, which it does for some people, that's totally fine and okay. You are free to skip this video. I won't be mad, it's fine. But if you aren't immediately horribly off-put by this, stick with it, because I think that we can start discussing some very interesting things that may hopefully make you look at ASMR in new light. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. So like I said before, the main purpose of ASMR is always first and foremost to relax the viewer in some way, whether that be directly confronting sources of anxiety or creating just a general calm and inviting environment that the person can feel safe in for the moment being. Oftentimes it's also used as a sleep aid, as the calming, quiet nature of ASMR is well suited for someone to fall asleep to if they have a particularly restless mind. Think back to days when you were a kid and you would fall asleep on the family sofa watching the George Lopez show at 2 in the morning. That idea work for others, which is why a lot of the times trigger videos will be sorted by trigger or general genre of trigger, whether that be a whole video of tapping very fast, a whole video of pen to paper sounds. So for example, some people enjoy the sound of paper and pen and the sound of writing. Typically, it would be a compounded stimuli of sound and visual, but the current video format that I have would make that kind of awkward for some triggers, so I apologize. I am not an ASMR channel, which, if this is your first video of mine, may be a very confusing statement to hear, but I am not, so my setup isn't exactly conductive to good ASMR praxis, but regardless, sounds such as these can be helpful in relaxing people. Some people like slow taps. Some people like fast. Some people don't like tapping at all. That's sort of the beauty of ASMR, the fact that there's just so many different artists and so many different viewers that there's an endless stream of various content. There's almost always something for you. You can always find your glass slipper if ASMR is not something you are entirely against. But trigger videos aren't what we are going to be talking about today, as valuable and exciting as those are for me personally. They aren't my main means of ASMR consumption, nor are they very conductive to the kind of discussion I want to have today. The main videos I'm going to be focusing on are the roleplay videos, and those are videos formatted like this, in which one person typically talks to their camera while playing a character of some kind. The idea is it's a roleplay in the same way that, say, a stage theater monologue would be. It's one person acting to the camera as if you were an individual within the story being told. And immediately your head may be lighting up with ideas as to how that could be used. Probably ideas very similar to how monologues are used in theater, and that's what I want to dive into today. The format of ASMR always and forever will be primarily to relax. Every decision is made around that guiding principle, to be calm, quiet, and relaxing. So within that framework, you have virtually unlimited freedom to explore whatever you may like, and explore the community does. And that's what I think is so exciting about ASMR roleplays, the unlimited freedom that the genre offers, and the unique positives, and in a lot of cases negatives, that the format makes possible. The first and probably most prominent in your mind right now is the intimacy of that kind of format, me talking directly to the camera. That intimacy is baked into ASMR. It's a very important part of the art form. It's the greatest strength of the art form in my mind. The ability to look into the camera and speak to it as if it were a person physically there, as if you, the viewer, are a person physically here, isn't something unique to ASMR. Think back to any film that has a fourth wall break and what that does for the viewer. Think of Ferris Bueller looking down the camera and talking to the audience. Why does the director choose to do that? Most commonly, it's to bring the viewer directly into the story by looking at them in the eye and talking to them, not the camera. viewer's part that is almost unprecedented in other art forms. Lots and lots of art have played with the idea of viewership, whether it be leaving the viewer out on a crucial detail that the characters may be privy to create dramatic tension, for example. ASMR thrives on the viewer being directly in the action of the story being told, and that leads them to having the ability to tell much more impactful, personally fueled stories. I want to talk about a few chief examples of this, as well as highlight 3 of my favorite ASMR artists who I believe do this all exceptionally well in their own unique ways. First, starting off with Goodnight Moon ASMR. Goodnight Moon's real name is Erin, so I'll be referring to her as Erin from now on. So, Erin creates a roleplay series known as the Babblebrook series, starting with her Babblebrook in video, as far as I'm aware. They function sort of, and I am so sorry to say these words in your ear right now, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in which it is a collection of distinct individual stories that function entirely on their own, but together create a cohesive world, narrative, and lore. She explores this world that she has created through interactions with individual characters, and it's in that regard that I think ASMR is so perfectly suited for those kinds of intimate interactions. Think of any large-scale RPG you may have played, such as The Witcher. Think about how much you learn about the world that your character is inhabiting by talking to those that already inhabit it, whether it be someone giving you a side quest or a villager giving you a juicy tidbit of gossip. That is Erin's ASMR. She is the NPCs of this world, whether it be a witch up in the woods, a marauder who has captured you on some form of trade route, whether it be the owner and attendant of a inn that collects seemingly the most interesting people in the area. Every video has you engaging in an ultimately one-sided discussion with these people, and slowly revealing and peeling back the layers to the world at which they inhabit. And certainly you could portray that story, that lore, in any format. There could be a Babblebrook book, there could be a Babblebrook show, but Erin, understanding the strengths and limitations of ASMR, uniquely uses them to tell the story of Babblebrook in a way only possible in ASMR, through interactions with one person to another entirely. And just like choosing any medium, whether, I have to make this story into a playwright, or a script for a movie, or a manuscript for a book, choosing to make it in ASMR format alters the story in the way that it is delivered in a significant and noticeable way. And I think it's worth considering how other stories could be impacted positively or negatively by that delivery format. For example, specifically in Erin's Babblebrook series, there is a sense of personal space within the story, again because of the intimacy with the camera and her performance. It really does make you feel as if you are within this world, traveling along with your character of the traveler. This is also aided, of course, by Erin's insanely impressive set design, costume design, and makeup work. She really does her best to create a very real, believable space for her characters to inhabit, and I think that just goes to show how in tune she is sprawling, confusing, intricate, and ultimately very cryptic. When tuning into a video, there's an understanding that in some way it will be connected to the greater narrative being told, but what that way is, where it fits in the narrative, is elusive, that it creates a very engaging viewing experience with the work. You don't just watch the next episode in ER's work. There's all this hopping around from different characters in different places of the world, in different times, different things that they're trying to accomplish, and the entire time that you're watching it, drifting off into sleep, you can't help but try and put the puzzle pieces where you think they belong. And I think that's a very exciting thing that can only be done over such an extremely long-form storytelling concept as hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos over years and years. There's just no way to really create that sense of a constantly unfurling puzzle before your eyes over years and years than to do any other form of extremely long-running media. But again, ASMR videos are very well suited to doing that because of their typically long run time due to necessity of calming the viewer over a span of time and drifting them off to sleep. And the typical quantity that is outputted by an ASMR artist being relatively easy to produce compared to a television episode, for example. You're typically able to get one out at the very least every week. Most of the times, especially in the case of Aaron and ER, every other day or so. So through that extremely long-running format emerges this narrative that's being woven very slowly, very delicately through each episode. Not only does each episode feel as if it stands on its own, each one delivers a very unique experience from the other. Ephemeral Riff's greatest gift for his ASMR work is his uncanny ability to play any range of character perfectly. Whether it be the quirky, peculiar, almost childlike Corvus Clemens, the Plague Doctor, the eerie and nefarious Professor Clemens, the earnest and well-meaning thrift shop caretaker Dave the Deep. All of these characters feel so distinct from one another and give off such a unique vibe from one another that their respective videos, despite all existing within the same narrative, world, and lore, feel very, very different, creating a nice diversity of experience when watching his videos. The final ASMR artist I want to highlight is one that again is very different from the rest. Marno ASMR. Marno is less focused on telling overarching, interconnected narratives, and more so on creating concise, self-contained, comedic narratives. If Aaron's ASMR is akin to Lord of the Rings, if Ephemeral Riff's ASMR is akin to Color Out of Space, then Marno's ASMR is akin to Superbad. The intent is to relax by creating a jovial, enjoyable environment. So, my camera died, and I have to finish recording this video within the next 15 or so minutes, or a goblin that lives in my closet is going to steal one of my vital organs. So I switched to my webcam. I'm sorry. Life works in mysterious ways and things suck sometimes. That's life, but I'm almost done. I've also completely lost my train of thought because it's been about 20 minutes since my camera died. I think I was talking about Marno. Super bad. Yeah, okay. Marno creates an environment that is welcoming, warm, and relaxing by creating one that's full of light and jovialness and warmth and happiness and laughter. He creates brilliant comedy through the use of like we've been talking about, intimacy of ASMR. The general one-on-one nature lends very well to these comedic moments in which he talks directly to the viewer, usually, again, role-playing the character of the viewer in some sort of circumstance that he can bounce off of comedically. His comedic chops show off the best in his series. I believe the title exactly is ASMR roleplay, but you aren't exactly sure what roleplay it is, or something to that effect, in which the entire purpose is to create comedy through confusing, confounding non sequiturs and one-liners and absurdity. It's absurdist humor, and it works very well. Again, because of the intimacy that ASMR offers, putting you in that place. The comedy comes from you struggling to figure out that space, from you being led by the hand by Marno in these absurd circumstances, and so on and so forth. So to that extent, Marno understands how to use the intimacy of ASMR to create unique comedic experiences that don't require him to have another person to bounce off of, as would be typical in a comedy, but also doesn't feel as TED Talky as stand-up comedy might. It's solo comedy with the illusion of there being a second participant to bounce off of, and I think that's a very unique thing I don't really see outside of ASMR too much. So to that regard, Marno has figured out a way to convey his comedy through a medium that makes that comedy uniquely possible. And I think that's kind of a good end cap for this video, because I think it highlights what I find so exciting about ASMR, the uniqueness of it and the ability to express things through it that would be awkward otherwise, that would be obtuse or difficult to reach. There are certain genres of video, of art, that are perfectly suited for ASMR, and there are a lot of artists that are using ASMR to its full potential and creating really exciting, interesting things. Again, watch Marno or ER or Aaron's work. They are incredibly entertaining, especially Aaron's, I find, because of just how rich that world is. Even if you don't like ASMR, give these a shot. See how it just feels for you, if you can find yourself getting lost in, at the very least, the world building and the narrative and the characters, because that's kind of a really important part of ASMR for me. And yes, primarily, again, it is meant to relax, and to that end, these artists succeed with flying colors, but it's that step beyond, the ability to create characters of which I am endeared to, worlds that I enjoy visiting and experiencing, that really makes the artistry behind ASMR so interesting and special to me. And it's that artistry and talent that I would love to see celebrated more often, and just generally discussed more often. But yeah, again, I don't have a script for this video, so I'm not quite sure how to end it, but that sounded like a pretty nice bow to wrap the whole video in. Again, this has been a bit rambly, and I'm sorry if the format or the subject matter isn't to your liking. I am trying new things on this channel all the time, just doing generally what I think is worth doing and what I want to do. So thank you for sticking by and supporting me through that. If you didn't like this, don't worry. I promise you the next video will be totally different. That's sort of been the trend with this channel. So thank you for supporting me and this channel. Thank you for listening all the way through to this. I hope you enjoyed it. Go watch, again, Marno, Aaron, or ER. Their channels will be in the description below, as well as a link to what I believe to be good starter videos. Good ones to watch with no prior knowledge of them and their work, or ASMR in general even. Yeah. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, wear a mask, stay inside, all that fun stuff. And have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening.